It turns out she didn't break me, she freed me. My 45th birthday started the way any other Tuesday might, except I'd been counting down to dinner at the copper table for nearly 2 months. We'd talked about this place endlessly. One of those southwestern spots with adobe walls and a reservation list so exclusive you felt accomplished just getting your name on it. I arrived exactly 15 minutes early because punctuality is wired into who I am. 23 years in construction will do that. When concrete trucks roll at 6 a.m., you're there at 5:45 or you're finding another job. Requested our regular corner table positioned perfectly by the window. The one Rachel always said would be ideal for proposals or milestone anniversaries. The waiter kept glancing over my shoulder every few minutes, clearly expecting her to arrive fashionably late with some elaborate story about traffic or a showing that ran over. I had to tell him twice, maybe 3 times, that she definitely wasn't coming before he finally stopped hovering near our table with that particular expression servers develop when they realize they're watching someone get stood up in real time. He eventually cleared away the extra place setting, but not before giving me that universal look of pity that somehow makes the abandonment feel worse than it already did. I ordered our meals anyway, got both dishes we always chose, the green chile enchiladas she consistently raved about, and the ribeye I preferred cooked precisely medium rare. Even instructed them to bring out the sopapillas we traditionally shared, splitting them down the middle with honey drizzled just right. Some pathetic, optimistic part of my brain thought maybe she'd burst through the door, breathless and apologetic, that this was all some misunderstanding about timing or communication. But my phone stayed mostly silent, except for a single text that arrived around 7:15. Client emergency, can't get away. So sorry, honey, love you. The words felt robotic and hollow, like reading the automated response on a customer service email that nobody actually wrote or meant. What struck me hardest was the complete absence of any birthday acknowledgement. Not in the message, not in any follow-up text. Just those empty words followed by a heart emoji that felt more insulting than sending nothing at all would have been. I ate alone, methodically working through both plates because wasting food felt wrong, even when everything else felt broken. Paid a bill that could have covered groceries for 2 weeks, left a generous tip because none of this was the waiter's fault, and walked out into an April night that felt unreasonably cold for Phoenix spring. I was zipping up my jacket when my phone vibrated again in my pocket. This time, the notification was different. A fraud alert from our company American Express, specifically from the business account we maintained for client entertainment and project expenses. I only kept that account active because it generated triple points on hotels and generated solid tax write-offs for legitimate business meals with subcontractors and suppliers. The charge showing up was for a reservation at Desert Ridge Resort and Spa, one of those upscale desert retreats with championship golf and suites that commanded nightly rates exceeding what most of my crew made in a week, located approximately 12 miles from where I stood on the sidewalk. But here's what made my blood run cold. This wasn't filed under our usual client entertainment category. Someone had deliberately miscategorized it as marketing consultation. The reservation wasn't listed under her name, which would have made some twisted sense. Instead, it showed as belonging to Logan Hayes. I recognized that name immediately, heard it dozens of times at real estate networking events and industry mixers where commercial developers schmooze residential contractors looking for reliable crews for their next strip mall or office complex. Always pronounced in a specific tone that made the muscles in my neck involuntarily tense. Logan was some hotshot marketing director at Pinnacle Development Group, one of those companies that specialized in luxury residential communities and upscale commercial properties. Recently divorced from his wife of 12 years, the type of guy who wore designer polo shirts that cost more than my work boots, and casually mentioned his weekend place in Sedona during conversations about project timelines. He'd handed me his embossed business card once at some charity golf tournament the Chamber of Commerce organized. Made an off-color comment about how the bachelor lifestyle offered certain advantages if I ever tired of domestic routine. Said it with that particular smirk guys use when they think they're sharing some universal truth about marriage. I'd laughed politely at the time, filed it away as harmless arrogance from someone who'd probably never swung a hammer or poured concrete in 100-degree heat. The laughter felt distant now, replaced by something colder and more deliberate. Rachel had been working more closely with Pinnacle lately, or so she claimed. Several times over the past few months, she had mentioned strategy meetings and marketing collaborations that seemed to require evening discussions over expensive wine. I'd thought it was just her being thorough, building relationships that could lead to more commercial real estate referrals. She specialized in high-end properties, the kind that required coordination between developers and contractors like me. Now those innocent explanations felt like carefully constructed lies, each one designed to provide cover for something I'd been too trusting to see. Instead of driving straight home, I redirected to a 24-hour diner positioned directly across the street from Desert Ridge's main entrance. The kind of place where truckers grab coffee at 3 a.m. and construction workers fuel up before dawn shifts. Ordered black coffee so bitter, I had no real intention of drinking it and claimed a booth by the front window, offering an unobstructed view of those glass lobby doors. The waitress attempted casual conversation about the weather or local sports, something about the Diamondbacks' latest losing streak. I don't remember which. I just nodded vaguely and kept my attention fixed on that resort entrance, watching for the shape I knew would eventually emerge. 47 minutes passed. I counted them on my watch, the same Timex I'd worn on job sites for 15 years, scratched crystal and all. Some corporate event must have been concluding inside because clusters of people in business casual began filtering out. Men in pressed khakis and women wearing dresses too expensive for practical walking. All of them laughing with the loose enthusiasm that comes from premium wine and someone else's credit card. I scanned each group carefully until my eyes locked onto a shape that stopped my breathing for several seconds. Rachel emerged from those glass doors wearing the turquoise dress. Not just any dress, but specifically the one I'd purchased 3 weeks earlier for this exact dinner. She'd left it hanging on our bathroom door that same morning, with the price tag still attached. Mentioned something about saving it for a special occasion. Apparently, she'd been telling the truth about that part, just not about who the occasion would involve. She was holding his hand, not casually, not accidentally, but deliberately. Fingers intertwined the way couples do when they've moved past the awkward early stages. They were laughing together about something, heads tilted close in that universal posture of people sharing private jokes that exclude the rest of the world. When they reached the valet stand, visible through the glass, she reached up to straighten his collar, her hand lingering on his chest, in a gesture that looked practiced rather than spontaneous. These weren't the fumbling movements of some first-time mistake. This was choreographed routine, muscle memory from repetition. I lifted my phone and took exactly one photograph, close enough to capture faces clearly, detailed enough to prove I wasn't manufacturing paranoid fantasies. Then I navigated to our text thread, still showing her last message about the fabricated client emergency, and typed a new response. Send my regards to Logan in room 512. I pressed send, placed the phone face down on the table, and watched the screen illuminate briefly before going dark. That was sufficient. No follow-up questions, no angry emojis, no demands for explanation, just truth delivered with surgical precision. I paid for coffee I'd barely touched, left cash on the table and drove home, taking the longest possible route through neighborhoods I'd helped build. Past the Mesa Verde development where my crew had poured foundations 2 summers ago, through the Scottsdale Commons where we'd framed custom homes for tech executives who commuted to Tempe. Stopped for gas my truck didn't need, picked up milk and eggs from a convenience store, even though we had both at home. My hands never trembled once. That steadiness scared me more than shaking would have. This absolute control suggested something fundamental had rewired itself in my nervous system. Something had fractured inside me cleanly and completely. Like when you hear rebar snap under excessive load and understand instinctively that the structure's integrity no longer exists. I'd crossed an invisible boundary and couldn't locate it anymore. Our house sat dark and empty when I pulled into the driveway. Her BMW was obviously absent, the garage containing only my F-150. I parked carefully, locked every door with deliberate precision, and entered the home we'd shared for 8 years. Then I began a methodical process of subtraction, not motivated by rage or grief, just practical necessity, like demobilizing a completed job site, systematic, efficient, thorough. I removed the scented candles she'd purchased for romantic evenings and dropped them in the trash, collected her preferred wine glasses from the cabinet, wrapped them in newspaper, and placed them in a cardboard box labeled with her first name in permanent marker. Located the framed photograph from our Maui honeymoon, the one capturing us kissing on some Wailea beach at sunset, and placed it face down in a drawer I rarely opened. I prepared the guest bedroom with fresh linens, left an unopened water bottle on the nightstand, adjusted the thermostat to a comfortable temperature. No note accompanied these preparations. She wasn't worth the effort of written explanation for something she already understood. My phone started its electronic symphony around 10:30. I watched her name flash repeatedly across the screen, counted 12 calls in succession, and allowed every single one to transfer to voicemail. Reviewed the messages later, purely for documentation purposes. "Where are you? Answer your phone, please. I'm heading home right now. We need to talk immediately. I can explain everything. Just wait for me there." The final text arrived at 10:55. "I'm 5 minutes away. Please don't do anything rash." I didn't respond because by that point, I'd transcended anger entirely. I'd become something else, something colder and infinitely more calculated. I was awake in a way I hadn't been for years, perceiving reality with a clarity that felt almost painful in its sharpness. Her BMW screamed into the driveway 22 minutes later, tires protesting like she'd taken residential corners at unsafe speeds. The engine shut off, followed immediately by the door slamming with enough force to echo. Her heels clicked frantically on the concrete walkway I'd poured myself 3 years ago, the rhythm accelerating like a countdown timer, reaching 0. She didn't waste time knocking or easing the door open with guilty caution. Instead, she threw it wide like responding to a fire alarm, and I was the only available extinguisher, still wearing that turquoise dress, now visibly wrinkled and hanging crooked on one shoulder. One heel was barely attached, the strap dangling loose like she'd been running through parking lots. Her makeup, which must have been perfect hours earlier, had surrendered completely to tears and panic. Mascara formed dark streaks down both cheeks like war paint applied by trembling hands. She resembled someone who just understood they'd gambled everything on cards they'd misread. "I can explain this," she began immediately, her voice fracturing before completing the sentence. "It's absolutely not what you're thinking right now." I was positioned on the arm of our living room couch, holding a glass of water, watching some muted cooking program about braising techniques. I didn't stand, didn't react physically. Just observed her with a kind of supernatural calm that probably disturbed her more profoundly than yelling would have. "Suite 512?" I asked, my voice carrying no inflection whatsoever. Her face cycled through emotions like someone flipping channels. Confusion first, then recognition. Finally something approaching pure terror. You could practically watch her brain scrambling through potential explanations, testing different narratives for structural integrity. She advanced toward me reflexively, operating on autopilot, clearly expecting me to reach out or soften or provide the opening she desperately needed. But I remained exactly where I was, immobile as poured concrete. "The guest bedroom is prepared," I stated, gesturing down the hallway past the kitchen. "You'll be sleeping there until you locate alternative housing." "Wait, what do you mean?" Her voice climbed an octave. "No, hold on. You completely misunderstand. We were just having drinks to discuss the Morrison project. We talked about commercial zoning for hours. Logan's going through an absolutely brutal divorce and needed someone to listen. I couldn't make it awkward by refusing when he's such an important client for my career." I raised one hand to interrupt her momentum. "I'm not requesting the rehearsed script. Save your performance for an audience that hasn't already watched the preview." She attempted that nervous laugh she deployed when jokes landed badly at social gatherings. "You're being completely paranoid, seriously overreacting. You didn't witness anything real or meaningful." I stood up slowly, then moved in her direction until we occupied the same eye level. "I witnessed your hand in his. I witnessed you wearing the dress I purchased specifically for tonight. I witnessed you smiling like a woman who'd temporarily forgotten she owned a husband waiting at a restaurant across town." That statement penetrated, her expression crumpled, and she collapsed onto the bench. Positioned near the stairs, face buried in both hands, shoulders beginning to shake. "You're not even going to yell at me," she whispered, as though my silence represented somehow the worst betrayal possible. "No," I replied. Yelling would suggest I believe we're engaged in a fight that concludes with forgiveness. We're not. This has become a process now, and that process terminates with you residing somewhere else. She cycled through several additional angles over the following 90 minutes, reminded me we'd survived worse situations, referenced the time she'd crashed my previous truck, and I'd forgiven her completely, brought up the credit card she'd maxed out without permission 2 years ago, claimed I'd always said we were partners facing everything together. You've exhausted every particle of goodwill I ever extended, I told her with clinical precision. Congratulations on that achievement. The account reads 0 now. Eventually, her arguments exhausted themselves, and she retreated down the hallway toward the guest room, heels clicking like intermittent gunshots against hardwood. She paused in that doorway, turned back toward me with desperate eyes. So, that's everything? One mistake and I'm just erased from your life? I didn't answer because she'd already possessed the truth. She'd made her decision that night. Now I was making mine. The next morning arrived with her attempting the domestic rehabilitation approach. She moved around the kitchen with excessive volume, slamming cabinet doors with just enough force to communicate regret without actually verbalizing apology. She had prepared coffee using the French press I preferred, measured cream and sugar to my exact specifications, positioned it prominently on the counter like a peace offering. I didn't touch it, simply got dressed like any other Wednesday morning, selected a pressed work shirt, located my watch, retrieved my truck keys from their designated hook near the door. "Where are you going?" she asked, attempting to sound casual despite obvious vocal strain. "Job site," I stated. "Concrete pour, scheduled for 7. Should I wait here for you?" I paused fractionally, just long enough to glance in her general direction. "Do whatever you prefer. Just avoid moving anything that doesn't belong to you." As I walked out to my truck, work boots crunching on gravel, she called after me through the doorway. "Planning to dump me?" I turned back, one hand on the truck door handle, and met her eyes with absolute clarity. "It's already settled." Then I climbed into my F-150 and drove to the construction site, leaving her standing there in that doorway, still clutching my untouched coffee like it might somehow reconstruct what she'd demolished. The job site that morning felt like sanctuary. Honest work, honest materials, honest men who showed up on time and did what they promised. Everything she'd apparently forgotten how to be. Rodriguez, my lead foreman, noticed something different immediately. 20-year construction veterans develop radar for when their boss is carrying extra weight. "Everything solid, Wade?" he asked, adjusting his hard hat as the concrete trucks lined up along the street. "Foundation's cracked," I said, watching the first truck back into position. "Time to demo and rebuild." He nodded, understanding I wasn't talking about concrete. Demo's always the hardest part, but you can't build anything lasting on compromised ground. By lunch break, I'd already made my first call to Owen Barnes, the sharpest divorce attorney in Phoenix. His secretary scheduled me for that afternoon. By quitting time, the paperwork was in motion, and I understood exactly how much leverage I possessed. Turned out I'd been building more than houses for the past 8 years. I'd been constructing financial fortifications without even realizing it. Owen Barnes operated from a converted bank building downtown, the kind of place with marble floors and mahogany paneling that communicated serious money and serious consequences. His handshake was firm, his suit expensive but not flashy, and his eyes held the particular sharpness that comes from watching too many decent men get destroyed in divorce court. "Construction project manager," he noted, reviewing the intake form I'd completed. 8-year marriage, no children, substantial assets including business interests. He looked up. "Walk me through the timeline." I laid out the evidence methodically, the business credit card fraud, the hotel photographs, the systematic lies about client meetings, Rachel's growing financial access to my LLC accounts over the past 2 years, justified as administrative support for tax preparation and expense tracking. "She's been charging personal expenses to your business account?" Owen's eyebrows raised slightly. "Everything from spa treatments to designer clothes, filed under marketing consultation or business development. I trusted her to handle the paperwork correctly." The bitter irony wasn't lost on me. Apparently, she was developing business relationships, just not the kind that benefit my company. Owen made notes on a legal pad. "Arizona is a community property state, but business assets acquired before marriage maintain certain protections. Your construction company? Established 3 years before I met her, sole proprietorship, converted to LLC status 2 years ago. She has signatory access but no ownership stake. I pulled out a folder I'd prepared. Bank statements, business incorporation documents, tax returns showing the company's independent financial history. Smart, Owen nodded approvingly. Most guys don't think ahead like this. What about the house? Purchased 2 years after marriage, both names on the deed. I paused. But I made the down payment from business account proceeds. Have documentation proving the fund's source. Owen smiled for the first time. This is actually refreshing. Usually I'm performing damage control. You've been building legal firewalls without realizing it. We spent 90 minutes dissecting every financial connection Rachel and I shared. The joint checking account she'd been using for personal expenses. The shared credit cards where she'd accumulated debt for business entertaining that had nothing to do with my construction projects. The investment account I'd funded entirely from company profits. Here's what we're going to do, Owen explained, pulling out a checklist. Immediate financial separation. We'll freeze all joint accounts pending asset evaluation. Remove her signatory access from your business accounts. Cancel shared credit cards. File for legal separation with adultery grounds, which affects asset distribution in Arizona. How long? I asked. If she contests, 6 months minimum. If she's smart and accepts the evidence, we can have final papers in 90 days. Owen leaned back in his chair. But here's the thing. Her affair partner works in real estate development. That creates professional complications for both of them. I hadn't considered that angle. How so? Real estate agents have licensing requirements, ethical conduct standards. If she's been using your business accounts to fund personal relationships with clients or professional contacts, that's potential license violation territory. Owen's smile turned predatory, especially if there's financial benefit flowing between her and this Logan character. We drafted the initial papers that afternoon. Formal separation notice. Asset freeze requests. Business account protection orders. Most importantly, a comprehensive financial audit demand that would require Rachel to justify every business expense she'd authorized over the past 18 months. I'll have these filed by tomorrow morning, Owen promised. Your wife will receive official notice within 48 hours. After that, her access to your accounts terminates immediately. Driving back to the job site, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Complete clarity. Not anger, not sadness, just crystalline understanding of exactly what needed to happen next. Rodriguez was supervising the afternoon concrete finishing when I returned. Paperwork go okay? Foundation solid, I said, watching his crew smooth the surface with practiced precision. Everything else can be rebuilt from scratch. That evening, Rachel attempted another domestic peace offering. She'd prepared dinner, actually cooked, not ordered takeout, and arranged candles around the dining room like some romantic reconciliation scene. I thought we could talk, she said when I entered through the garage door. Really talk, without all the accusations and assumptions. I hung my keys on the hook, removed my work boots, and walked directly to the guest bedroom where she'd spent the previous night. Placed a manila envelope on the nightstand. Legal papers, I stated. Financial separation effective immediately. You'll need to find your own attorney. Her face went white. Wade, you can't be serious. This is moving way too fast. We can work through this. We worked through it last night. You explained it was just business drinks. I explained it was already settled. I turned toward the door. Nothing's changed except now it's official. What about my access to the accounts, my credit cards? Terminated at close of business today. You'll receive formal notification tomorrow morning. I paused in the doorway. You might want to call your sister about temporary housing arrangements. She followed me down the hallway, her composure finally cracking completely. You're destroying everything we built together. I stopped walking and faced her directly. No, you did that Tuesday night at Desert Ridge. I'm just handling the cleanup. The next morning brought the first real consequence. Rachel's cell phone had been disconnected. Apparently, she'd been using the business account to pay for it. Her credit cards were declined when she tried to purchase gas. Most importantly, her access to the joint checking account had been frozen pending legal review. She emerged from the guest bedroom, looking like she hadn't slept, makeup smeared, wearing the same clothes from yesterday. My phone's dead, she said, voice hollow with disbelief. Business line, I replied, pulling on my work jacket. No longer your business. The real destruction began 3 weeks later, not through any action of mine, but through the natural consequences of her choices rippling outward like cracks in poorly mixed concrete. Logan's wife had apparently maintained suspicions longer than I had. She'd hired a private investigator who'd been documenting their activities for months. 2 days after my Desert Ridge text message, she filed for divorce with a comprehensive evidence package that included financial records, photographs, and detailed timelines. More importantly, she'd forwarded everything to the ethics board of the Arizona Association of Realtors. Rachel's real estate license came under immediate review. The board took a dim view of agents who mixed personal relationships with professional obligations, especially when business expense accounts were involved. The investigation expanded when they discovered the pattern of charges on my company credit card that coincided with her client meetings with Logan. Misrepresentation of business expenses and improper client relationships were the formal charges. In layman's terms, she'd been using my money to fund her affair while claiming it was legitimate business development. Her broker terminated her contract within a week. 23 active listings were reassigned to other agents. The luxury homes she'd specialized in selling, properties that required trust and reputation, were suddenly off limits. Word travels fast in Phoenix real estate circles, especially when it involves financial impropriety. Logan fared worse. Pinnacle Development Group couldn't afford association with a marketing director whose personal scandals were creating liability issues. Corporate clients don't appreciate their projects being linked to messy divorce proceedings and ethics violations. His termination was swift and absolute. Rachel moved in with her sister Sarah, an arrangement that lasted exactly 11 days before Sarah decided she needed family space to process everything. Translation: Rachel's constant phone calls trying to explain away her situation had become exhausting. She found a studio apartment in Tempe, the kind of place with paper-thin walls and a parking lot that flooded when it rained. I know these details because she called me once, at 2 a.m. on a Saturday, crying about how the air conditioning didn't work and she couldn't afford to fix it. I didn't answer, saved the voicemail exclusively for documentation purposes, then deleted it after Owen confirmed we had sufficient evidence for final divorce proceedings. The legal process concluded faster than expected. Rachel's new attorney, a strip mall lawyer who specialized in DUI cases, advised her to accept the settlement rather than contest it in court. The evidence was overwhelming, and Arizona's adultery provisions meant she'd forfeited any claim to business assets or significant spousal support. She signed the papers on a Thursday morning in Owen's conference room. I wasn't present, didn't need to be. The marriage was already over. This was just administrative cleanup. The house sold within 3 months. Real estate market was strong, and I netted enough profit to expand my construction business. Bought 2 new trucks, hired 3 additional crew members, started bidding on larger commercial projects. Turns out the financial drain of supporting someone else's lies had been holding me back more than I'd realized. Without Rachel's business expenses and credit card debt, my company's cash flow improved dramatically. I moved into a smaller place closer to my primary job sites. A craftsman bungalow I renovated myself during evenings and weekends. The work felt therapeutic, ripping out old plumbing, rewiring electrical systems, rebuilding everything from foundation up, creating something honest and functional from materials I trusted. I met Nicole at a coffee shop near the lumber yard, where I bought supplies. She was photographing the morning light streaming through industrial windows, working on some project about urban renewal. We struck up a conversation about construction techniques and how buildings age. She appreciated the craftsmanship in older structures, understood why someone would choose restoration over demolition. We took things slowly, had real conversations about expectations and boundaries, and what we actually wanted from relationships. She doesn't know the full story yet, but she will when the timing is right. And this time, I'm watching for the signs I missed before. The small betrayals that become big ones when you systematically ignore them. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, someone mentioned casually that Rachel was working retail at a shopping mall clothing store, sharing a 2-bedroom apartment with roommates she'd found on Craigslist. Logan had apparently moved back east, something about family connections helping him find work in his father's insurance business. Part of me felt something about that news. Maybe sympathy, maybe justice. I'm not entirely sure which, and honestly, it doesn't matter anymore. What matters is the clarity I've maintained. The understanding that trust, once broken at the foundational level, cannot be repaired. You can patch surface cracks, apply new finishes, even renovate entire sections. But when the structural integrity fails, the only responsible choice is complete demolition and rebuilding from scratch. Rachel chose temporary excitement over permanent trust, chose secrecy over honesty, chose a hotel room over a marriage. Those were her decisions, and she made them fully conscious of the potential consequences. I just stopped pretending they didn't matter. My 46th birthday passed quietly last month. I spent it at the job site, supervising foundation work for a new office complex. When the concrete trucks finished their pours and the crew headed home, I stayed to watch the sun set over the framework we'd built. Solid materials, honest work, reliable men who showed up when they promised and did what they said they'd do. Everything a man needs to build something that lasts. The phone in my pocket buzzed once, a text from Nicole asking if I wanted company for dinner. I smiled, typed back, yes, and drove home to a house built on foundations I could trust. Some bridges you burn deserve to stay ashes, but sometimes clearing away the debris makes room for something better to grow.